Opening weekend was full of twists and turns. And guess what? We got one in the faith of the beginning of the defension for the Minnesota Frost. The Minnesota Frost and the New York Sirens coming up right now on the 2024-2025 season premiere of PWHL Recap. We're back. Let's get rolling. Welcome to Sports for Beginners. This is the show where I cover the Pittsburgh Penguins, Toronto Blue Jays, and take you on a journey through the world of sports. From the fans' perspective, here is your host, Scott McGregor. Let's have some fun. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to PWHL Recap on Sports for Beginners, the podcast. I am your host, Scott McGregor. Thomas is your host of the On the Ice and Behind the Benches version of the show. We're talking Frost. We're talking Sirens. Let's get to it, shall we? We're going to start things off the way we would normally do a Penguins post-game show, starting off with our head coaches and our matchup between the pipe. For those of you who want a specific version of that, what I specifically mean is our matchup in goal. But first, to make it a little different than what we do on Penguins postgame, we're going to talk about our venue and the game time. Our venue for this game in the Minnesota Frost home opener is XL Energy Center, home of the NHL's Minnesota Wild. That is the home of the NHL's Minnesota Wild. The game was played at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Central Time, 3 p.m. Pacific Time, 11 p.m. UK Time, midnight France Time, and started at 6:16 p.m. Eastern, 5:16 p.m. Central, 3:16 p.m. Pacific, 11:16 p.m. UK, 12:16 a.m. France. And our head coaches, in his first year as the Sirens head coach, PWHL New York is now hosted or head coached by Greg Fargo, who has a pretty impressive resume coming into his first season as the Sirens head coach. Reminder, he was not the inaugural season head coach of the New York Sirens, which at the time were known to the world as PWHL New York. The game itself, we're going to get to in just a moment. But before we do, It's time. Yes, it's time. Take a look at the other side of the ice. And that, as luck would have it, is the head coach of the inaugural team, PWHL Minnesota, now known as the defending Walter Cup champion in the Minnesota Frost. They are head coached by Ken Keeley in his second year as head coach of the Minnesota Frost. He was the inaugural season head coach when Minnesota was known as PWHL Minnesota in the inaugural season, which was also the season of PWHL Toronto, PWHL New York, PWHL Boston, PWHL Ottawa, and PWHL Montreal. More on those teams a little later. Alright, time to go between the pipes. And between the pipes in this game, as luck would have it, the Sirens would send to the goal. They would send to the goal Corrine Schroeder. She gets the opening night job. And she goes head to head with Nicole Hensley, who gets the start for the Frost. The backup to Nicole Hensley, number 35, Maddie Rooney. And Abigail Levy, number 39, backing up Corrine Schroeder, number 30. So we got the matchup between the pipes of 30 versus 29. But before we go any further, I would like to let everyone know that halfway through this program, I will provide a couple of my thoughts on the banner raising for the Minnesota Frost. And the one thing I will tell you right now, it was quite a night. So congratulations once again to the Minnesota Frost, known to the world at the time of their inaugural historic banger season, where they became the first team in PWHL history to hoist the Walter Cup. Congratulations to the Minnesota Frost on that front. At the time, they were known as PWHL Minnesota. And that is how they would end their inaugural season. We'll talk about that all down the course of the program. Right now, it is time, as we roll on here in our double trouble for Monday, it is time for us to take our first break of the program. When we come back, it's time for the goal scorers and the penalty takers. We will talk about that First by goal scorers, then if we have time, unless we have to take a break, we'll move into the penalty takers. After that, we'll do the game stats, the stars of the game, attendance record, and the next game. Around that timeline, we will also be doing the Women's Hockey Player of the Game around the time of the attendance record. But that's all still to come. When we continue on the 2024-2025 season premiere of PWHL Recap, this Minnesota Frost season on PWHL Recap, which is our main focus this year, goes into high gear with who got things started after the banner raising, the game's scorers and penalty takers, if we're able to get in that in our next segment, is coming up next. Stick with us. And remember, hockey is for everyone. Back with more in a moment.
Take another look with Gerda Felix and Melanie Taddeo Malo, two powerful women of diverse backgrounds having genuine, unique, and uncomfortable conversations that everyone needs to have. Join Melanie and Gerda for conversations about what is missing from human connections.
Looking for a good hockey podcast that covers your favorite hockey teams and mine? Check out On the Ice and Behind the Benches, where we chat about our favorite hockey teams from puck drop to the last play of the action. To learn more, follow the On the Ice and Behind the Benches Facebook page. Search On the Ice and Behind the Benches. Sirens 4, Frost 3. The New York Sirens kick off the 2024-2025 season with a victory, the same way they did the inaugural season. But will that matter if the New York Sirens don't make the playoffs this season? No, not really. It will just serve as a reminder of last season where things clicked early. Well, at least in game 1. And then things kind of spiraled. Not a good start for Minnesota, though, in their title defense, as I said off the top of the show. Minnesota Frost are the reigning, defending Walter Cup champions, and they are the first team in PWHL history to hoist the Walter Cup. Well, we want to talk about goal scorers and penalty takers. Let's start with our goal scorers. And this starts early. Grace Zumwinkle gets the party started for Minnesota. 21 seconds into the game, Literally, we're not even a minute into the game, and Grace Zumwinkle's on the board. Grace Zumwinkle's on the board with her first goal of the season, of the new season. And Kelly Panic and Britta CS pick up their first assist of the season. But for Britta, I believe it's probably her first assist in her PWHL career. Remember, we also have some rookies in the league now. Some new rookies in the league now. And they were putting on quite a show in opening weekend, which was Saturday and Sunday with a doubleheader, which we'll get into later if we have time. But all things considered, 21 seconds into the game, Minnesota is on the board and leads 1-0. But they wouldn't stop there. The captain, Kendall Coyne Schofield, gets things to a 2-goal lead for Minnesota. 17 minutes and 46 seconds in. I'll just double check here on the PWHL website. I'll provide a link in the description. If it doesn't work, let me know. And I'll provide you with the actual link, which is actually in the description, to the actual website of the PWHL. From there, you can go to the schedule and go back to check that game out. Yes, it was at 17 minutes and 46 seconds. Kendall Coyne Schofield. First goal of the season, Claire Thompson and Sophie Jacques. Sophie J. If I pronounce your name wrong, Sophie, I apologize. But Claire Thompson and Sophie pick up their first assists of the season. And just like that, it's Minnesota 2, New York 0. Let me just reiterate that the way that the team names are now. It's Frost 2, Sirens 0 after 20 minutes. With Minnesota heavily outshooting the New York Sirens. Shot total after the first period was 15-3 in favor of the Minnesota Frost. A little later, we go to the second period. And at this point in time, the Sirens have their turn. Oh, but it's on the power play. Minnesota, a costly penalty. It didn't exactly cost them the game. Well, I guess maybe it did, but we're going to talk about that in the third period because we got to get to overtime as well, because that's where this game ended. But anyways, it's Jessie Eldridge with her first goal of the season and the first PPG for NY, the short form for New York, and for the Sirens. Jessie Eldridge's first goal of the season on the power play, assisted by Alex Carpenter. Yep, that's right. Alex Carpenter on the assist. Her first of the season, and by the rookie that got things started in the inaugural season, Ella Shelton. Her first assist of the season. Time of the goal, 10 minutes, 1 second into the second period. So 10 minutes and a second into the second period, excuse me. It's 2-1. It's 2-1 Frost over the Sirens. Frost 2, Sirens 1. On the power play. And by the way, when the power play is active, you know, jailbreak goal rule comes into play. But here's the other rule that they've introduced this season. It's called the no line change rule, or the no escape rule is what it was called actually. And basically what this means is when the penalty killers have taken a penalty, they cannot make a line change. They cannot make a line change. I'll look into it more, but we saw it take place early in this season, as you'd expect. Anywho, Sirens have themselves a period. The Sirens have themselves a period, just like the Frost had themselves a period in the first period of the game, in the first 20. On the Alex Carpenter assist as well, we saw Ella Shelton, as I said. Ella Shelton making her presence known. A couple minutes later, 2 minutes and 59 seconds later, I should say, to the exact, at 12 minutes and 59 seconds into the game, 2 minutes and 59 seconds in, or 59 seconds later, because it was 12 minutes and 59 seconds. Give it up for, speaking of rookies, the New York Siren rookie Gabby Rosenthal with her first PWHL goal of her career and first of the season. Micah Zandyhart on the assist. If I pronounced that wrong, I apologize. Try to do my very best with that. We'll get there eventually as we roll on. Maybe over the course of this season. Anyways, the goal time was 12 minutes and 59 seconds. 2 minutes and 59 seconds later, after the power play goal by Jessie Eldridge. made it 2-1 Frost over the Sirens. And then Gabby Rosenthal's goal ties this one up. We're knotted up at 2 goals apiece. Headed to the third period. After 40, Sirens 2, Frost 2. Shots on goal after 40. Still in favor of the Frost at 9-6. So the Frost continue to outshoot the Sirens. But here's where it gets interesting. Alex Carpenter opens the scoring in the third period. Alex Carpenter opens the scoring in the third period and gives the Sirens their first lead of the evening on this Sunday evening, which was the game time, given it was at 5 p.m. Central and 6 p.m. Eastern. All right. Keeping it on topic here. On Alex Carpenter's goal, speaking of rookies, that was her first goal of the season. Speaking of rookies, though, the number 1 first overall picked by New York after they finished last in the inaugural season, keeping them out of the playoffs in the inaugural playoffs last season. They picked Sarah Fillier, Sarah Flyer. No, I had that right. Sarah Fillier. There we go. Okay, maybe I might not have said that right, but you can let me know there, Sarah, if I didn't get it right. But anywho, congratulations on your first ever PWHL point in your career and your first ever assist. You actually got your second point and assist in the next period we're going to talk about in a second. On that assist of the Alex Carpenter goal as well, the first one that Carpenter scored to give the Sirens the lead at 3-2. She opened the scoring on the power play, and now she's got an assist. Number 9, Jessie Eldridge, with her first assist of the season. And it only took Alex Carpenter in the third period 4 minutes and 35 seconds to give the Sirens the lead. But the Frost wouldn't go away. 15 minutes and 47 seconds after that, a couple of minutes after that, Minnesota's rookie, number 14, Dominique Petrie, forces overtime with her first goal in the PWHL, as well as her first goal of the season. And on the assist, DK, Dainza Kirazov. We're just going to say DK for the time being. Her first assist of the season. As I said, 15 minutes and 47 seconds in. And this one's going to need overtime after 60 minutes. We are knotted up at 3. Frost 3. Sirens 3. Headed to the overtime period. It's 3-on-3. Next goal wins. And the next goal that won, guess what? That goal took us not even a minute. Alex Carpenter and Sarah Fillier strike again. Sarah Fillier with her second assist of her PWHL career and of the season. And Alex Carpenter with her second goal of the game and second goal of the season to win the game 4-3, which was our final. After regulation, the shots on goal were 10 for the Sirens and 14 for the Frost. But of course, overtime means we get more. It was a 1-0 in favor of the Sirens as they pull off another opening night upset. The same way they did against Toronto back in pretty much a month ago. Not really a month ago, but the season that started in January. I was turning 24 at the time we were talking PWHL inaugural season. And even though I may not have been there to witness it in person, I was there to witness it on the air, whether it was on YouTube, on TSN, Sportsnet, or even CBC. That was one heck of an inaugural season. But the Sirens pick up the dub on December 1st, 2024 at the home of the Minnesota Wild and the Minnesota Frost, who, by the way, were the only team last year to win their home opener this season. The teams to do so far are the Toronto Scepters, who picked up a 3-1 W against the Boston Fleet on Saturday, and the Montreal Victoire, who picked up a 4-3 victory. Yes, a 4-3 victory. You heard me. A 4-3 victory over the Charge in a shootout in the first ever shootout of the 2024-2025 season. All right. With that said, quickly here before we get to break, our penalty takers. The Sirens get things started in the first period with a penalty to rookie number 6, Brooke Hobson. She goes 2 minutes for hooking at 9 minutes and 8 seconds in the first period. In the second period, penalties kind of jumped the gun here, but still one penalty awarded, or given out rather. This would be the penalty that the Sirens score on. And this is a penalty going to none other but number 19, Maggie Flaharte. Maggie, we're going to go with Maggie F. Sorry about that, Maggie, if I pronounce your last name wrong. 2 minutes for cross-checking. Time of the penalty, 9 minutes, 15 seconds into the game, second period. Only one penalty awarded in the first and second period. One to the Sirens in the first period. One to the Frost in the second period. In the regulation time period, the Sirens will take the second and last penalty they will take in this game, as Emma F. goes to the box. 2 minutes for hit to the head, illegal hit to the head, I believe. And that's actually a match penalty if you get an illegal hit to the head. But it was called a hit to the head on the ice, and that is at 8 minutes and 31 seconds in the third period. Nothing to speak of in overtime. Nothing to speak of in overtime on penalties. Only goals to speak of in overtime. As a result, your final total shots, well, stick with us. The game stats. Stars of the game, including how the power play and penalty kill did, is coming up next. We also are going to do the play of the game. All that next on PWHL Recap. And this is your reminder to keep it tuned, because for those who are fans of the Buffalo Bills, I'll be back very soon on Sports for Beginners, and then streaming later on the Ice and Behind the Benches for another Victory Monday edition of Bills postgame. And this one is quite sweet. But first, we gotta wrap this one up between the Sirens and the Frost. And we're gonna do that in 2 segments' time, with still to come the Women's Hockey Player of the Game, attendance record, and a look at the next game, at which time we'll also take a look at what's on the schedule for this week, which starts tomorrow, as the action continues tomorrow with the first game on Amazon Prime. It's on Tuesday. It's on Prime. The PWHL is on Prime. And that all starts tomorrow. Can't catch it on Prime or don't have it on Prime? Guess what? You have the option to check it out on the PWHL YouTube channel. I know I will be doing that if I watch this Charge versus the Scepters. More on that later in the program. But next up on this program, as we continue capping off the Sirens 4-3 overtime win over the Frost. Not a good start to the Frost season, but it is early, and we're in a 30-game season now. So not much to be discouraged about, but definitely not a good start to the defending of the championship after the banner raising. Game stats, including the total shots on goal. Stars of the game, known in the NHL as what we would call the 3 stars of the game. And the play of the game coming up next. Stick with us.
Looking for conversations on books and more, as well as tutorials on using your favorite devices and applications? You've come to the right place. Join us weekly on Spicy Techie, where Ali and Sienna provide insightful conversations, as well as useful tips and tricks to help you along on your technological journey. To learn more, tune into the show and like the Spicy Techie Facebook page. Search for Spicy Techie.
Looking for a sports podcast that covers sports weekly as well as gets you set up for the day? Check out Weekly in Sports with me, Scott McGregor. We give some shout-outs of the week to podcasts like this one and those who do them. Discuss the Blue Jays, Bills, Raptors, and more. To learn more, check out the Sports for Beginners Facebook page. Search Sports for Beginners. The New York Sirens pull off the upset and upset Ken K. I'll say. Sorry about that, Ken, if I pronounce your last name wrong. But a good start to the season for the New York Sirens under new head coach Greg Fargo. Time now for your total game stats. As I had said before, this game heavily favored the Minnesota Frost. But by how much? Well, the Sirens may have won the game, but they were outshot 38-20 in this game. They connected on one of their power play opportunities, going perfect 1-for-1 on the power play in the game. Meanwhile, Minnesota Frost 0-for-1 on the on the penalty kill, and 0-for-2 on the power play in the season opener. Not a good start for Minnesota Frost, but in a 30-game season, you got to make sure you just try to get better one game at a time as this defension of the Walter Cup has begun. And the quest for the Walter Cup has officially gone into full swing. With that said, they lost in overtime to the Sirens on Sunday, but there's a whole lot of season left. They outshot the Sirens 38-20, but when it came to special teams, the New York Sirens penalty kill came to play, and it showed. As they defeat Minnesota 4-3 in overtime. And they not only do that, but they go a perfect 1-for-1 on the power play and a perfect 2-for-2 on the penalty kill. Things clicking. Things are clicking for the Sirens early on. But I don't want to get ahead of myself. All right. So those are the games that we have so far for you. I don't have the number of hits taken and all that other stuff here on the PWHL website. We will see if they update that over the course of the next couple of seasons, even in this season as well. But our stats so far included scoring in special teams. The Sirens do, which ultimately leads to them winning the game. And the Frost, 0-for-1 on the penalty kill, 0-for-2 on the power play. But, like I had said, it's only game one. Didn't go well for the Frost on the night they hoist their banner. They raised their banner to the rafters. But hey, sometimes it's just going to end that way. Attendance record still to come in just a couple of moments, but first, as we've done our game stats, we're going to get to the play of the game also in just a few minutes, 3 minutes top. But it is time now for your stars of the game, that we're going to call that here on PWHL Recap, rather than your 3 stars. We're going to call it your stars of the game. Here we go with the third star of the game. That's Minnesota Frost number 13, Grace Zumwinkle. A goal, no assists. But I still think Grace played well. I still think Grace played well. She had 4 shots on goal in this game. Didn't really have any face-offs. Did score a goal, as I said. No penalty minutes for Grace. And no hits registered here. Again, don't have the total of hits. But if I could count all the hits totaled here, I would say we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 hits total for the Frost. So maybe the Sirens also out hitting the Frost. But that's something we'll get into another time. Maybe. With that said, your second star of the game, New York Sirens at number 15, Gabby Rosenthal. A goal, no assist. And the first star, well deserved. It's number 25, Alex Carpenter of the New York Sirens. 2 goals, 1 assist. So Alex Carpenter, Gabby Rosenthal, and Grace Zumwinkle, your 3 stars of the game. Officials in this game. We'll get to that quickly before we get to the play of the game, as we are coming to the end of our show with our women's hockey player of the game coming up after the next break. And of course, the next game is also coming up with our attendance record. But the officials for the game, the referees were Laura White and Jared Cummins. Erica Greenan and Greg Offerman, your lines person. So the officials were Laura White, Jared Cummins as referees, Erica Greenan, and Greg Offerman. Erica G. and Greg Offerman, wearing numbers 47, number 1, 88, and 95. Those were the officiating numbers for Greg Offerman, Erica G, and of course, Jared Cummins and Laura White. Jared and Laura with number 1 and 47. Erica G with number 88. And Greg Offerman with number 95. All right. time for the final break of the program. When we return, next up for the Frost, next up for the Sirens, a look around the league at what is on tap. When you can hear my voice next on our next PWHL recap. And then we will send you off to the second portion of our Double Trouble on Sports for Beginners with something that I believe you are going to find very, 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 very special when I come back with you a little later for the recap of week number 13 in the NFL season. Because when we return, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to send you off to Bill's postgame with the victory speech given by Bill's head coach, John McDermott, and Bill's quarterback, Josh Allen. Stick around for that coming up next. It's time for our women's hockey player of the game, attendance record, next game, and then that's it. Off to Bill's postgame for the recap of week 13 in the NFL season, Sunday Night Football, Bills, Niners. Back with more, and the women's hockey player of the game right after this, including our play of the game right off the jump because we didn't get there. So stick with us. Hi, everyone. Scott McGregor here. Oh, what's that? What's that? Do you hear what I hear? Do you hear what I hear? Come out and join us for the Season 3 Sports for Beginners Christmas Party Finale this December on Sports for Beginners. We'll talk about everything from our top 10 episodes, our podcast wrap up, a little bit of sports talk mixed in. Plus, I would love to know what your favorite holiday traditions are. So come on out and join us. Come on out and join us. Actually, better than that, come spend the holidays with us here on Sports for Beginners. It's certainly going to be a great show. That's Sports for Beginners Season 3 Finale Christmas Party Extravaganza coming this December on Sports for Beginners. It will be a pre-recorded program, so make sure you tune in. And if you'd like to be involved, send an email to sportsforbeginnerspodcast8231 gmail.com. Happy holidays, everybody! From all of us here at Sports for Beginners.
CNT Radio will never give you up. They will never let you down. Nor will they run around or desert you. So join Nick Astley for The Melting Pot every Saturday on CNT Radio. Hang on a minute. He's not Nick Astley. Oh, jings, I've done it wrong. Anyway, just join Nick for The Melting Pot on CNT Radio.
It's time for tonight's Women's Hockey Player of the Game. Who had the best game tonight? Let's find out right now on the Sports for Beginners podcast. Welcome back to season 2024-2025 season premiere of PWHL Recap. I am your host, Scott McGregor. Thanks to Thomas for providing us with our PWHL Women's Hockey Player of the Night introduction, or rather our Player of the Game introduction. That's what we're going to call that for Sports for Beginners, the podcast. Sean McDermott and Josh Allen will send us to Bill's post game in a matter of moments. But first, it's time for us to give this out. Before we do, I want to talk about my play of the game. And because we're in double trouble, this means that only during double trouble we will have something send us out of this game to whatever comes next on our program. So, as for the play of the game, I mean, there's a lot that I could choose from. But I'm going to go with the Jesse Eldridge power play goal to get the Sirens on the board and put Minnesota on notice. Why did I say on notice? Well, because you're the defending not Stanley Cup, you're the defending Walter Cup champions, and everybody is going to be coming for you. Alexis Pearson and her partner Clay touched on this in the broadcast. And Alexis brought up the point that now that you're the defending champion, now that you're the defending, champions, if you're the Minnesota Frost, everybody is going to be coming for you because you're the champions. They're going to be coming for you. They're going to be coming for your title. You won the inaugural season, but the inaugural season has come and gone. So everyone is going to be coming for you. Minnesota is, they have a big target on their back because the Scepters are going to be coming for them. The Fleet are going to be coming for them. The Charge are going to be coming for them. And even our topic of today, the Sirens, who defeated them in overtime yesterday. That's the game we're talking about from Sunday. We're talking about Sunday's game. at Xcel Energy Center. So the Sirens, the Victoire, the Charge, the Fleet, the Scepters, they're all going to be coming for the Frost. Looking for the title and the chance to have that wonderful atmosphere where you get to raise a banner. You get to raise that banner. Minnesota would love to do it again this year. But a loss in game 1 is absolutely not ideal, especially when you begin a title defense. But hey, it is what it is. And speaking of that, Minnesota has to cherish these moments of the inaugural season because they're going to remember them for a long time. They will never forget this moment. Trust me. All right. Play of the game belongs to Jesse Aldridge. Time now to get down to business. It is going for the New York Sirens. My women's hockey player of the night or the game. We're going to call it the game. Yeah, the game. We're going to call it the game. My PWHL women's hockey player of the game for the New York Sirens is going to go to Alex Carpenter. 2 goals in the game. Really on her game. She was really on her game all game long. Had a bit of trouble early in the game. She had a bit of trouble early in the game, but she found a way to make sure that 2 goals went past Nicole Hensley. Both of them evidently being after a power play goal and then a PWHL first for Gabby Rosenthal. And speaking of firsts, there was also a PWHL first in terms of goals for Dominique Petrie. And with that being said, that leads me to my Frost women's hockey player of the game. And this one, well, you know what? I mean, despite being the team that is out shooting the opponent 38-20, I feel like Nicole Hensley, even though she gave up 4 goals, she made 16 really good saves. 16 really good saves out of the 20 shots she faced. And to her credit, she also let in 4 goals, which ended up making it 4-3 in favor of the Sirens. So there we go. Nicole Hensley, the goaltender of the Minnesota Frost, a pick-me-up women's hockey player of the game for me. And my women's hockey player of the game for the New York Sirens goes to Alex Carpenter. All right, quickly here before as we have now reached an hour of the program, we're going to try to keep these under an hour as much as we can. But because we're at opening weekend and going into what's next, right on this segment, I should say, before we get to the attendance record. Opening weekend started with a bang as the Toronto Scepters defeated the Boston Fleet 3-1 in Coca-Cola Coliseum in Toronto Saturday afternoon. Saturday night, the evening game at 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Central. Captain Clutch got the dub, and the Victoire got the job done against the Ottawa Charge, beating the Charge 4-3 to close out our Saturday doubleheader on opening weekend. Of course, in our game, the Sirens beat the Frost 4-3 in overtime. In a shootout, it was Marie-Philippe Poulin who scored the game winner in the shootout, and Anne-Renée Desbiens did the rest. To have Toronto and Montreal as the sole teams to win their home opener this season so far. Ottawa's home opener is Tuesday, tomorrow, at TD Place, when the Battle of Ontario Women's Hockey Edition returns as the Scepters face the Charge at TD Place. Check your local listings for the game. The game is available on the PWHL YouTube channel, but it is also available if you have Amazon Prime. It is also available on Prime. Action on TSN returns Wednesday with a doubleheader as Boston Fleet are hosting the Minnesota Frost in a Walter Cup rematch. And their home opener of the season, their first game at home of the new season. Game time 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Pacific, midnight in the UK, and 1 a.m. in France time. Watch it on TSN or wherever you can find the game, and of course, streaming on the YouTube channel. Possible streaming on the YouTube channel. That ought to be a good one. The New York Sirens head out to Montreal to play at Place Bell Arena. At Place Bell, I should say. That game also on TSN, RDS, MSG, and NESN, Nesson. That's NESN. Game time in that doubleheader on Wednesday, also at 7 p.m. Eastern. Friday, the Victoire are also in action. They will take on the Charge at Canadian Tire Center on December the 6th. Even though they will host Toronto at TD Place on Tuesday. So the Victoire are on a back-to-back. They'll play... No, never mind. They are actually not on a back-to-back. There's no games Thursday. Teams are off on Thursday. The action's back on Friday with the Victoire taking on the Charge. Our next broadcast, by the way, is Wednesday during the doubleheader. That is going to be a show that I will get to you on the off day on Thursday after something I'm committed to. I will be back with you for the recap of Wednesday night's game between the Fleet and the Frost. But I will be tuned into the game. However I can. That is our next PWHL recap. And the recap following that, we'll see the Scepters play the Frost from Coca-Cola Coliseum Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern. Our coverage will get started following the game. After it concludes, and it can be seen on CBC and CBC Gem. Check your local listings for that as well. All right, so with that being said, we wrap it all up with on the Sunday, December 8th, a 4 p.m. Eastern game between the Fleet and the Sirens from the Tsonga Center, where our next coverage will take place. When we come back to you this Thursday, December the 6th, 2024, for the Walter Cup rematch on our PWHL recap from the Tsonga Center between the Fleet and the Frost. That's our next game. And that is going to bring us to the last portion of this program for our season premiere. So, ladies and gentlemen, the quest for the Walter Cup has begun again. Everybody was in action on opening weekend, Sunday and Saturday. And only two teams, the Victoire and the Scepters, picked up dubs in their home opener. Minnesota looked to continue that trend and get off on the right foot. But Alex Carpenter, Corrine Schroeder, and Greg Fargo, the new head coach of the Sirens, prevented it as the Sirens defeat the Frost 4-3 in overtime. My name is Scott McGregor. Thank you guys so much for joining us here today on the podcast. I look forward to catching up with you again real soon after the Frost and Fleet game on Wednesday. And I will look forward to seeing you then. But up next on our doubleheader, as we take ourselves from the ice to another snowy place in Orchard Park. I'm about to bring to you the following recap in the latest episode of Bill's Postgame. So with that said, I'm going to throw it on over to Buffalo Bills head coach Sean McDermott and Josh Allen, and featuring Bills team owner Terry Pagula as game ball recipients. Bills postgame is coming up next, but first, to send us out of our season premiere of the PWHL recap for 2024-2025, we're going to throw it over to Orchard Park, New York for the post-game victory speech following the Bills' win on Sunday Night Football that we're going to break down on the next episode of Bills Postgame coming up. So with that said, I would love it if you took a second to rate, review, and share the podcast. Hockey is for everyone. The PWHL is back. And we are back on PWHL Recap with you after the Fleet take on the Frost. Sean, take us out of here to our outro music and message, and send us over to Bill's postgame. Sean, the floor is yours.
Everybody put your hand up right here, man. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in a row. Division titles, man. 5 in a row. 5 in a row. And 7 out of 8 years in the playoffs, man, right? 7 out of 8 years. I'm going to tell you what, man. Cherish these moments, because it doesn't happen every year. It doesn't happen everywhere. And cherish each other. Look to the man on your left. Tell him you love him, man. Tell him you love him. Huh? It is about the journey and the moments, man. I promise you. I'm 50 years old, man. Right? I know. But you gotta savor the moments. You really do, because it goes by fast. Savor the relationships. Man, you'll remember this the rest of your lives, man, right here. In the snow, at home, and in the honor of Coach Levy. What does he say? When it's too tough for them, it's just right for us, right? And what else? Where else would you rather be than what? Right here, right now. All right, real quick, 2 game balls. First one, number 17, just passed the all-time touchdown record held by Jim Kelly. To the man and the family really that gave me and Brandon the chance to come here 8 years ago, man. And this was a place, man, they love football. You guys see it, right? You feel it. It had been 17 years when we got here, right? The last time they made the playoffs, huh? It doesn't happen by itself. It's not just the people in this room. It's the people in our organization, the entire building. It's our fans. Right, it's the people that came before us wearing the red, white, and blue of the Buffalo Bills. Right, it's an honor. Right, it's an honor. Every day we're in this building together. Right, together. Where's Mr. Pagula? Right here.
So we got 5. Let's get top 1.
Stay humble. simple, right? This is not the finish line, just like last week. Not the finish line. We stay in this thing together.
Bring it tight, bring it tight. Hey, I'm thankful for you fellas, man.
Likewise.
Again, like Coach said, this doesn't happen everywhere, all right? I'm honored to play with each and every one of you guys, but don't let this, like Coach said, be the finish line, right? Still a lot of season left. We keep getting better. Let's not be complacent with this. We got something to chase. Love y'all. 1, 2, 3.
We will see you next time on PWHL Recap. But Bills Mafia, don't go anywhere. Bills Postgame is coming up next. Right here on Sports for Beginners, Double Trouble continues. Going from the ice to the snowy gridiron in Orchard Park. Until then, for the PWHL, we'll see you next time. Thank you so much for listening to Sports for Beginners. If you would like to learn more about the show, you can visit the podcast Facebook page or visit the official website. You can also send us an email at sportsforbeginnerspodcast8231@gmail.com. As we always remind you, it is not goodbye, it is until next time.